Best fiends, best roast, best coffee. Online at papanicholas.com.
Now, from the Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Don't forget, bottom of the hour, Open Mic Friday. So all of you proponents of Trump's protectionist trade policies who are excoriating me on text, feel free to call in and we'll have a discussion. I'll be your huckleberry. But I do want to address the Lindsay Clancy trial as the jury deliberates. Majority of women on that jury, just FYI. Only takes one. Well, at least to hang the jury, if not to come to consensus on not guilty by reason of mental defect or diminished capacity. This was the, in part, the closing argument that Lindsay Clancy's attorney made in the case involving the murder of her 3 children at her hands, something to which the defense has stipulated.
Whether or not Lindsay is guilty. I told you in the opening statement that this is a prosecution that has ripped the soul out of this girl. This is what they had. This is their family. How does this turn into this?
Picture of her family and happy times versus...
Because of the damn medicine and the lousy medical care that she got. Well, she was in a psychosis, but we'll laugh about that. It's just another woman. I guess it's just going to make an excuse. She's depressed. GAD, general anxiety. Give her a couple of pills, she'll be all right. You know from looking at the objective evidence in this case, this young lady, believe me, I don't have many clients like that. This young lady did nothing wrong in her life. She was a nurse, a daughter, a wife, and a darn good mother.
She was a darn good mother until she murdered her 3 kids. 312-642-5600 alphawealthgroup.com. Call and text line. Where do you come down on this? And maybe include this in the contemplation. This piece by Ashley Frawley over at First Things on the trials of modern parenting. She certainly doesn't absolve Lindsay Clancy here, but she provides some context that certainly jurors might be considering as well from their own experiences, particularly women on the jury who are moms. The furor around the case foregrounds a much deeper ambivalence about what modern parenting has become, she writes. Clancy has become an emblem for aggrieved mothers who believe they are doing it all and then some, who feel abandoned by their husbands and society. Mothers everywhere can project themselves onto her when it comes to the sense of abandonment. So intense is their identification, they're convinced Lindsay cannot also be a murderer because murder is an action with which they cannot empathize. By all accounts, Lindsay was a quote-unquote good mother. What did this good motherhood entail? The family's former nanny described a, quote, wonderful mother, unquote, who was intensely concerned with her children's safety, sleep schedules, and what they ate. Lindsay's diaries read out in court detail the thoughts of a woman obsessed with her 8-month-old nap schedule to the minute, whether he was hitting his milestones, whether she could parent him as intensively as she had her first 2 children. She was racked with guilt over sleep training, over not being able to continue breastfeeding, over not earning enough money or connecting enough with her husband amid all of these worries. In the months leading up to the children's murders, she wrote, Quote, our generation is inundated with information about every aspect of parenting and everything that can go wrong if you don't get it right. And for the last 5 years, I've just filled my mind with all things parenting, and it's just unhealthy. She wrote that she was terrified of, quote, doing something wrong to mess up their development. And Frawley writes, anyone concerned with doing parenting, quote unquote, right over the past few decades will recognize the world she's describing. That said, parenting books did not cause Lindsay Clancy to kill her children, writes Frawley, but the language through which she described her distress reflects a common cultural vocabulary, and it's this that Clancy's defenders seem to be instinctively connecting with. The fear of making a mistake and damaging your children, the endless self-surveillance, the belief that being a good mother means knowing and managing every minute risk. It's what sociologist Frank Ferruti, we've had on the show, calls parental determinism, or the cultural belief that parents are all-powerful determiners of children's lives means that parenting has become a guilt-riddled project of constant effort and optimization. It seems there's no social problem that cannot be traced back to, quote, well, what did the parents do? It just doesn't take a village, but apparently a host of scientists, experts, institutions, awareness raisers, and the right cocktail of psychotic drugs to get through this fraught time that we call modern parenthood. She goes on to say the Patrick Clancy did it, the husband did it, brigade, reveals just how much anger women feel towards husbands who don't seem to carry the same crushing weight of parenthood. But of course, the answer isn't to spread that crushing weight equally across exhausted parents, nor is it to leap to the delusion that Patrick Clancy is a murderer. We may never know what truly led Lindsay to do the unthinkable. What is clear, though, is that the online reaction points to something broken in modern parenthood. Fixing that will do far more good for our culture than persecuting an innocent man. 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com, call and text line. What do you think about that sort of modern parenthood contextualization to help explain some of the lunacy that we've seen online and people being compelled to say things that are difficult to defend? Like, for example, a medical practitioner, Dr. Noah Sterling is her name. She's an OBGYN, and she posted this message for Lindsay.
Hi, Lindsay. I'm Dr. Sterling. I don't even know if you're allowed to watch videos like this, if someone can show it to you. I don't know. But I want you to know that I believe you. From my perspective as an OBGYN, I believe that you were over-functioning throughout your entire postpartum period. I am blown away by how hard you were working to get better, while also working as a mom. I've got 3 kids. I know how much work it is, even when you are mentally well. It's so hard to take care of 3 kids. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but I don't know what else you could have done. You were far beyond what should be expected of a single individual. You have galvanized us women in a really powerful way. And I'm not quite ready to tell my story yet, but when I eventually do, it's going to be because you came first. And you showed all of us that we can be honest and we can be real about what we experience as mothers. So thank you. And, I hope that you're seeing our support because we believe you and we are proud of how hard you advocated and how hard you tried for yourself. And we know you miss those babies every day.
Don't know what else you could have done. Thank you? I mean, is a thank you in order? She's a model advocate. It's difficult to, get to the core of this. Most of these confrontations, if you will, with Lindsay Clancy apologists or outright supporters, thank you, go something like this exchange that occurred on GB News across the pond. Obviously, this has become an international story.
They should be commended because they didn't.
Please. I've had it with you.
Oh my God! They
And
should be
your
commended. They
sexism
didn't
and
kill their
misogyny.
children. She's a murderer. These women are cheering.
I'm done.
These are man-hating women that are standing outside. This is what it's about. They think the husband did it. They're crazy. They've lost their mind.
Do you know why
they're waving for a murderer?
Do you know why the woman is in a wheelchair? Did you even notice that she's
Couldn't care less. She's a murderer.
Because she jumped out the window after this happened.
So she should have. I'd have pushed her. They say that Lindsay was in psychosis. I think these women are suffering from psychosis. They've been watching too many true crime Netflix dramas. You know, this was a incredibly privileged woman, incredibly wealthy. She had a nanny, and she's still complaining that she needed help. She could not have got more help from the system that she already have received. This is a murderer who strangled her children one by one. One of the boys ran away, and she chased him down and killed him.
Laurie Watkins.
What you just said was absolutely disgusting.
Thank
and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Thank you.
And you can hear that he's not. Okay?
Why? Because it's true.
You clearly don't care, so pipe down.
I don't care. And by the way, men watching this, if you have a woman sat next to you on the sofa who is defending this murderer, you got to think deeply about this. I've seen weddings.
So we need to have some empathy with.
Talk to your women and find out what are they thinking. They're defending this woman. It's
I don't think
insane.
anybody's defending what she did, but you can have empathy for what she went through and how she.
I know many women that this has happened to. No, they did not kill their children, but they also, what you failed to mention.
They should be commended because they did.
I've had it with you.
Oh my God! They
And
should be
your
commended. They
sexism
didn't
and
kill their children.
misogyny.
She's a murderer. These women are cheering.
I'm done.
That's not terribly productive, but I know many women like this, but they didn't murder their kids. Well, that's sort of the point. Nobody's suggesting that their women suffer from postpartum depression or there are, legitimate mental health challenges associated with parenting that some people experience. But just the matter-of-fact nature of this legal proceeding, did she know the difference between right and wrong when she killed her children? You want to have the larger cultural discussion about, parenting in the 21st century West and so on and so forth, fine. But for the purpose of this, can you just stick to the facts here? And are we going to hold people accountable under the law or not? Because, frankly, there was a lot of expert testimony back on to, we want to invoke mental health issues and the treatment of people experiencing a psychosis alleged. And then you have forensic psychiatrists that call into question the stories about the voices, the stories about the hallucination, how atypical her account is. So we need mental health professional intervention, but then we are going to dismiss them when they come to a conclusion or express skepticism that runs afoul of our empathy-infused position. And by the way, just as a point of order, this whole parental determinism thing and the challenges of modern parenthood and so on, I mean, that's all self-imposed. You don't have to subscribe to that theory that everything you do is going to inexorably impact your child. And so any false move, any mistake you make is going to, be visited upon you and your family and your child for the entirety of his or her life. You don't have to believe in that sort of anxiety-riddled theory of parenting. For more on this topic, I think we have Ashley Frawley, senior editor of Compact, author of Semiotics of Happiness, Rhetorical Beginnings of a Public Problem. Ashley, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, I was referencing some portions of your piece before you joined us. And I mentioned Frank Ferruti, who we've had on the show, and his parental determinism thing, as you just heard me reference. But I mean, again, the contextualization is somewhat interesting, but it has limited application in this specific case, I guess, is the point I'm making.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the actual details of the case, you can see that Lindsay was definitely in the throes of this idea of parental determinism. Her diaries showed that she was intensely focused on every aspect of her children's upbringing, like the nap schedules to the minute. And she was terrified of, as she said, messing up their development. But that's really secondary to the actual act that was committed. It's a horrible act, and it's for the jury to decide whether or not she was criminally responsible. What I find interesting is the degree to which people are projecting onto this story, and that I think is where they're having a cultural conversation that we're not really having more broadly. You mentioned that you don't have to subscribe to this idea of parental determinism, but a lot of people do. Like when people say, oh, it's like motherhood and apple pie, like motherhood's this thing you can't question. But it would be like if that apple pie was filled with all kinds of poison and everybody's eating it and they're like, geez, man, how do people used to do this? That's not, the apple pie has changed. Motherhood has changed. And people really take for granted that intensive motherhood is what motherhood is supposed to be. And woe betide the woman, and in this case, the man who doesn't live up to that. So they're kind of projecting onto Clancy's husband, like he should have done more. He should have done more. And they're making this leap to like, well, he was responsible. Therefore, he was responsible for, oppressing his wife. And then therefore, people then take this additional leap, which is, well, he must have done it, which is completely insane. But the only insane bit is the last bit. The rest of it is just how our culture understands the solution to the problem of modern parenting, modern motherhood, which is more people just need to do more. More and more and more and more. Everybody just needs to do so much more. And there's no upper limit to the amount of responsibility. And, you put out all this stuff, like every single day there's a headline, like how the sleep schedule of the child sets them up for life, and how, breastfeeding isn't just best. It makes them more successful, smarter, this and that. I'm just giving you the information. But if the information is out there, it's becomes a responsibility. It becomes your responsibility to give the child the best start in life. And if you don't do that, you feel responsible. And so women are feeling this kind of responsibility. Parents are feeling this kind of responsibility, but they're not seeing that it is not necessary, that this is a very modern thing. This is a new thing. It's only been around for about 50 years, this idea of like that, well, you could say like 100 years with the rise of Freud and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But really in the culture, it's only about 50 years old. Or even it was, just in the 1960s that parenting became a verb. Before that, it was just like a banal kind of noun, something that you were by virtue of having children. Like it's so different now, and people just don't recognize, like we can look back, nostalgically for when we were children. Like I don't even barely remember my parents when I was a kid. I was outside playing all the time, unaided. Like nobody was watching me and these other kids running feral around the neighborhood. So people say, oh, we need to let kids outside more. They don't mean like on their own. They mean with the parents watching them. And they will judge parents who are not on the jungle gym, like literally on top of these kids all the time. And it's an enormous kind of pressure. And unfortunately, we're not having that conversation culturally. And people are projecting it onto this story. And it's creating really mad results.
So is this
in actually blaming the husband?
Right. And also too, sort of armchair pharmaceutical experts too. So, I mean, do you see this then as an opportunity to push back on so-called helicopter parenting, to extol the virtues of preparing your kid for the road, not the road for the kid?
Yeah, I mean, this is what my colleague Jenny Bristow at the University of Kent calls the double bind of modern parenting, where on the one hand, if you're not on top of your kid all the time, you're like a lazy parent. Oh, parents today, they're so lazy. But then if you are doing everything, then you're a helicopter parent. Like parents can't really do right for doing wrong. So I would say, like, rather than saying, well, parents are screwing this up yet again, it's like, as a culture, we need to calm down and stop blaming parents for absolutely everything that goes wrong in society. Like there are very few social problems for which people don't say like, well, what did the parents do? Mm-hmm. Where are the parents? What can we get parents to do? And it's like everything has to happen in childhood, and then childhood becomes this all-determining factor for everything in society. That's, society is extremely complex. That's not really how it works, but it's an easy answer. It's an easy solution. So I don't think we should go back to blaming parents even more for helicoptering. They were told to do that. They were told as good parents, they ought to be intensely concerned with their children's development and how they're doing in school. They should be on top of them all the time. And then when they are, they get blamed again.
Yeah, no, I mean, not blaming them for helicopter parenting, but saying, look, just what you said, chill out already. I mean, you love your kids. You're trying to do the best for them. You're doing for the most part, most people are doing fine. And, at a certain age of development, too, they're going to have to take some responsibility for themselves, because guess what? If you stay neurotic for the entirety of their formative years, then, they're going to have problems. There's other problems associated with that, too. So just sort of to take a step back, maybe, or just relax about the approach that you're taking, rather than, ascribing all the nuances of what constitutes the right and proper parenting on every aspect of one's existence.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I have 2 children myself, and I've actually really enjoyed being a mother, because I purposely avoided reading any parenting books. I mean, I am associated with the Culture of Parenting Center for Parenting Culture Studies at the University of Kent. So, I write in this area, and I kind of know that it's a bunch of junk science and so on. So it's easy for me to say. But, I let my kids get bored and I leave books lying around. That's about the best thing that I can say. I try to kind of step back, and when we spend time with each other, it's, at bedtime and that sort of thing. And I don't intervene in their squabbles as much as I can restrain myself from doing that. Just calm down, and, they will figure things out. Your job as a parent is to gradually let them go, to help them to make choices and judgments on their own, to socialize them into what is good and great about our society. And that's really it. You don't need to, baby-led weaning versus child, the baby-led potty training and all these different parenting styles and gentle parenting. Parenting is important, but it is not that important. You are not the all-powerful determiner in your child's lives. And we need to calm down and really push back on all of this stuff in society that, whenever we hear people saying, where are the parents? We need to kind of take a broader view and say, well, where are we as a society? What are we doing as a society that's creating this kind of situation?
Baby-led potty training. I haven't heard that one. That sounds like a mess, both literally and metaphorically.
Don't get me started.
I don't know what that. I don't want to know what that is. Ashley Frawley, senior editor of Compact, author of Semiotics of Happiness: Rhetorical Beginnings of a Public Problem. Ashley, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you join us in the elfwealthgroup.com answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses